Karim, I can't thank you enough for being on the CEO Global Network podcast. It is so great to see you again. I remember the first time we met there in Montreal at the CEO luncheon, and it's just so great to see you again and to have you with us.
It's always a pleasure, John. Any minute I could spend with you in a room, I'll take it, even if it's a podcast. Let's go.
Well, thank you so much. I feel exactly the same way. Now, your company elevates voices that shape culture. It's on your website, Building Influence, Impact, and Lasting Legacy. What inspired you to expand from a high profile model agency, Karim, into a full multidisciplinary talent management company? What was your inspiration?
Hearing it from someone else reading it's
Yeah,
definitely a bold statement.
yeah,
But, I'm privileged to say that's exactly what we do. We take exceptional individuals that have massive reach in society, that have influence, and
yeah.
although that word can be seen, in a negative or positive way, depending on which angle you look at it, but the people that we associate with are very positive in nature and have positive messaging, and they have that deep influence. So we help them with all aspects of their career, whether it be setting up their company, setting themselves up for success, but especially developing their business. So that means helping them make more money, helping them create lasting partnerships with stakeholders that may want to associate with them on a marketing level. We've all seen a celebrity do a big deal with a brand, and now they're suddenly on the bottles of the product or on the cereal boxes. So during the Olympics, that's us. We're putting faces on the cereal boxes with those brands, and we're negotiating favorable deals for our talent who we represent. So we're kind of like little mini attorneys, although we're not legal. We do give a lot of counsel and advice, and people tend to come to us for our advisory skills as much
Yeah.
as our business development skills.
Well, that's very interesting. So, how do you identify the talent that has the potential for that international influence that versus someone who would just have local success?
Right, right. And that's a good segue to the second part of your first question.
Yeah.
When we started working with models back in 2008, social media was brand new. So we emerged as an agency on social media and built our reputation online using it as a leverage, while some of our competitors were not even privy to it yet. But since we're that millennial generation, we grew up
Right.
with internet and social media. I saw a huge opportunity in that. And what we noticed was some of our models had massive reach and influence. And that's when I noticed that the industry was going to shift. I could forecast it, I could see it happening. And I said, brands are not going to just go after models, they're going to go after models with big influence online. So we need to get our models to do more on their Instagrams, on their profiles, and to grow their influence online and their platforms. And what I quickly realized after 2 years of trying to get them to grow their socials is that, you can try as hard as you can, but if it doesn't come from within the person, it's never going to materialize. So we instead
Right.
shifted our focus to finding influencers and finding people that were on their path, excited to grow their socials, their platforms, and they were already really successful at it, and that we could really assist those people in growing. And then, of course, some of our models actually did become successful on platforms, which is always nice to see. But really, we developed a whole new clientele for what we call public interest and pop culture deals and that kind of stuff. So we started representing influencers, sports and entertainment figures, more recently gamers, and we really built out what is right now Canada's largest expertise in this field.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so, what was your biggest challenge, Karim, in introducing this influencer representation in Canada when it was pretty new?
Yeah. The buzzword influencer wasn't even understood
You weren't
by
even
our
there.
clients at the time. Yeah, they were booking our models for campaigns, and then we were like, you can have an influencer on that image instead. And they were like, what does that even eat? What does it mean? And we're
Yeah.
like, well, Instagram and TikTok, and at the time, Periscope and Vine, and these people have massive audiences there. And if you feature them on your campaign, well, their audience is likely going to follow them towards your brand, right? And so there was a lot of educating the clients and educating marketing directors that had, years of experience, and they now had to compose with this new thing that they didn't know anything about. And at first, it was really tough to get them to put their marketing dollars into this new channel. But today, what we're seeing is that they're coming to us now. There's no educating anymore. I mean, the industry has completely shifted. A large chunk of the budgets that were being put towards Google to rank first on Google, and when you put the keyword, you're first in line for that brand, sneakers, Nike, sneakers, Nike. Now they're giving a large chunk of that budget to celebrities online who speak about the product and build, I would say, more of an emotional connection with the brand that then translates to their audience who are following these role models and these icons online. And so at first, it was a big challenge to make marketers understand, but through education and through, meeting them, showing them, and also I think just the sheer results speak for themselves. I mean, when you do a positive campaign and suddenly your e-commerce is crashing the server because there's so many hits to the website because this influencer just posted online about you, it's happened before, funny stories where we had a customer call us and be like, tell the influencer to stop. Just tell them to turn it off. There's too many customers. My server just crashed, and like I don't even have the inventory to cover this amount of sales. And I'm on the phone. I'm like, that's a good problem to have, buddy. Like you should be celebrating right now. So, I think the tables have definitely shifted in the industry.
Yeah, no, that's a great story. Now you got offices in LA, Montreal, Toronto. How do you maintain culture in your company, and how do you get team alignment across those offices, Karim?
Loaded question there, John. Loaded. I would say, when we first expanded to Toronto, it was in 2016. It was a huge leap of faith for us. And also, what as a time where we had less resources. So it was a financial risk at the same time. And I think at that time, I got lucky. One of our early employees, her name was Jessie, she was relocating to Toronto. And she carried over that company culture, and she started a new branch there with Taylor, who was our first agent there that was hired, that was native from Toronto. And Taylor's still with us today, and she's crushing it. And I think, we got lucky in having those first ambassadors carry the culture over. However, when COVID hit in 2021, the whole company really shifted online, and really embraced the online culture. And I think that's, again, a trait that my generation has, where we grew up in chat rooms, we grew up with instant messaging, we grew up with emails, we're just natively used to that. So when we were restricted from going in office, all that beautiful company culture, those relationships, those hallway talks, they all transferred to like chat rooms and digital space where we actually maintain those relationships. And given that we're a relationship first company, where our value and our heritage is the relationships that we build with both clients, buyers, and the staff amongst ourselves, we found a way to just really nourish those relationships through virtual phone calls, virtual meetings, regular touch bases. And what we've introduced as a company is a very, I would say, process driven formula where a supervisor will have a set amount of meetings individually with the team in a given week, a set amount of team meetings per week, and the meetings are really process structured. So we have agendas for them that are same across a certain vector of the company, different formulas, different agendas for different departments, but each department has been studied to basically render what we feel is the Dulcetto way of managing both team members and clients in a way that's not too extensive. I mean, you don't want to drown people in Zoom calls and Google Meets and Teams meetings all the times, but there's a certain minimum that we impose, and then after that, if the team wants to do more meetings, and I would largely say through that, chat rooms and memes being shared online, we keep the company culture alive.
Well, that's great. That's wonderful. Thanks for that. That's a great response to that question. Now, one last question for you, Karim. I know you've worked with and helped a lot of startups, okay, over the last number of years. You've really helped them get launched. And so the question is, how has your work with these startups influenced your approach to growing your company, Dulcito?
Tremendously. It's, you're bringing up the kind of mastermind entrepreneurship incubator that we started in Montreal called Le Cercle, which
Yeah,
was
Lesec.
which was also an inspiration for me to join CEO Global,
Yeah.
to be with peers of my level. In the mastermind group, the peers were very, very strong. They were definitely my level. And we basically had guests every month come in, and we'd exchange with them and we'd coach them, mentor them, and provide them a lot of the help that we wish we had when we were starting our businesses initially. Like, just like, hey, private banking exists. Here's what it is. Here's what it's for. Here's when's a good time to look for it. If you want, I know private bankers I could introduce you to, and let me make personal introductions. And hey, you really need a corporate attorney. You really need a shareholders agreement for this and that reason. And have you thought about, challenging your business model on this? Have you ever looked at a distribution manager? I think you're at that stage where you need one. All that kind of strategic advice that you never think you'd hear from anybody else from that's not from within your business are pieces of advice that are sometimes transformative for entrepreneurs, right? And so for me to be able to challenge these brilliant entrepreneurs, because some of these entrepreneurs that come to the table are, I regard them as potentially more brilliant than myself, right? And they're in a completely different field. So I felt like I've always learned from them as much as I would share with them. And it's that reciprocal relationship that made it so rich in these exchanges. And through them, I've built an amazing network. And that I want to emphasize on that's what I think I've gained most for Dulcetto is, I've found my corporate attorney through these sessions, through a member that was part of my group. And he was absolutely for me at the time in 2017. He saved my butt straight up, really helped me out of a jam that I will never forget. I'm eternally grateful to him for. But I found that through that group. So having a peer group where you can find resources and not necessarily that you're looking for, sometimes it's the group that makes you aware that you even needed those resources. And that was what's so transformative for me. And that's what I'm now finding in CEO Global, which, I couldn't emphasize more how important that is for an entrepreneur.
Yeah, no, it's a great learning. It's a great thing to pass along, isn't it? The value of having peers, checking your backswing and telling you the truth.
That
Thank you
hotel
so much.
story you told us was a good one. You were
The
in the hotel, like
Dallas
pulling your
hotel
hair
room.
out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Hey, Karim, I can't thank you enough for being on the CEO Global Network podcast today. It's just great. As I said earlier, it's great seeing you again. And thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on this. Very valuable. I learned a lot. So thank you. Thank you so
Well,
much.
you're very welcome. Thank you for having me on. And although it felt like a monologue, I hope it was interactive, and
No,
the users will love what they hear.
it was excellent. It was excellent. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, John.